don't know many people who think, yeah, evil sounds like something I want.
Right, yeah.
But it's something that you fall into. And when you define it as missing the mark, I feel like we innately have this desire to aim towards the good.
Yes.
But the problem is, what is good and what is that rooted in, and what is the mark that you should be aiming at? Hey, my name is Matt Poole, and this is Unapologetically Catholic. And as you can tell, I have a guest with me. This is my friend Anthony. Thanks for being on, Anthony. I appreciate you being here.
Love to be here.
But Anthony's a really smart guy. He knows a lot of good things. He knows a lot about the Catholic faith. He's a convert as well. But yeah, what's your background? Because you have a lot of degrees. So tell us about yourself a little bit.
So yeah, I am a convert to the faith. I'll start with that. And I converted 10 years ago. Was from a Protestant background before, largely evangelical Baptist. My profession is I am a psychotherapist. So I went to school for quite a long time for that. I'm also a adjunct professor in psychology as well. Got degrees in psychology and philosophy, English, master's degrees in teaching and psychology. And then I went and did my doctoral work. And then surprisingly to me, as I was doing my doctorate, I ended up picking up 2 more specialist degrees on the way to doing that. And those all were basically what I did was combine philosophy, psychology, and education. So I've taught, I'm teaching now, used to teach in high schools, used to teach even middle school. That was a nightmare. And so now at the university level. And so psychology, philosophy, and then theology is my lifeblood stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that fits perfectly into what we're talking about today in sin. Because I think a lot of times people just, like, they know sin is bad, but I think if more people understood, okay, well, this is why sin is bad. And not only is it just that it's a bad thing and not that just an offense to God, like that's not enough. But sin really does have an effect on us in a way that I think probably most people don't realize. And so when you were talking through, hey, because you had sent all this stuff to some friends of yours, and that's atheist friends of yours, right? Mostly?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. And so when you sent it to me, I was like, wow, that's really good. I kind of had been thinking through some of those things. I have 0 degrees, so
it's cold over here.
Yeah. I think through things a lot and deeply so, but maybe not on a scholarly level.
And that's probably, you're better off for it. I ended up making a career out of this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think probably the best place to start is like, what is sin, or like, what's the Catholic specific view of sin?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how the topic arose between you and I. I think you were also thinking about wanting to talk about sin in general too. You've been thinking about that for a while. And it is, I was thinking on the car ride over here, it's a kind of a heavy topic. It's serious, and I think we most of the time want to look away from it, or we don't want to talk about it. It's a very kind of American thing, maybe, or a Western thing. Just don't pay attention to what's over here in the shadows. And I tend to make a career out of looking at shadows, right? So, and with my faith, I like the definition of sin. It just literally means like to miss the mark. So we're aiming for something, and we end up satisfying ourselves, or at least trying to attempt to satisfy ourselves with sin, really, with things that are lesser in our minds. They are the good because we're reading it incorrectly, but they are things that turned up to be harmful for us because they get us out of the channel of looking towards what God actually has for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know. I think that's important to remember, and a good point, because it's not like, uh, well, you and I both have young kids, so no young kid looks at a stovetop and sees the electric red eye burning and goes, "Huh, that's really gonna hurt if I do that. I should do it."
Exactly.
You know, a kid is gonna look at a red hot eye on a stove and say, "I wonder what that's like." And then you touch it, and then it obviously burns them, and then they learn, "Oh man, that's obviously not good for me."
Yeah,
And I think it's the same thing, like, even with adults and us, is
for sure.
it's not like most of the time. I think sometimes people may intentionally seek out evil. Um, I think that's probably very rare.
Yeah. Or they think of it as like a means to an end too,
Mm.
like, or that it gives them power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bishop Barron talks about these uh, things that lead us to pleasure, power, and what else does he say? I know those are the two major things that he talks about, that it tries to provide these things for us.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And so
It's camouflaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't know many people who think, yeah, evil sounds like something I want.
Right. Yeah.
But it's something that you fall into. And when you define it as missing the mark, I feel like we innately have this desire to aim towards the good.
Yes.
But the problem is, like, what is good, and what is that rooted in, and how do you, like, what is the mark that you should be aiming at?
Yeah, so there's a lot of smarter people that have come before me, and this comes to, like, from Aristotle all the way through St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. People who are talking about, why would we do this to begin with? Um, and I think part of that is, well, I wanted to read something, actually.
Yeah,
I wanted to read something from St. Thomas Aquinas. He says, well, let me preface that with, I say here that, and this is from a conversation that I was having with my friends. I said that all sin is ultimately an intentional ignorance of understanding rather than knowing. So we're trying to grasp the good. We really do want something in life that is life-giving, fulfilling to us, and we just become satisfied with easy, instant gratification things in the present moment that's available for us. I said that it's a misrecognition of the good. It's why sinners sometimes don't think that they're sinners, because they think, hey, I'm doing things that feel good to me, and they're leading me to what I'm desiring, but so there can't be anything wrong with me. Christianity is all about talking about sin. No, I'm not a sinner. I've run into that issue a lot. So it brings up this, like, question, I think, of understanding and how that's related to sin, is that we misrecognize the good. Aquinas talks about this in Summa Contra Gentiles. That's he says, but insofar as one has understanding, one does not err, for all error springs from lack of understanding. Therefore, there can be no error in the apprehension of these spirits. And he's talking about angels specifically in this context, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but without such error, there can be no sin in the will, because the will always tends toward the good. Like, we are always directed towards the good, just as human beings, made in the image of God. We want what's good for us. And the problem here is that our apprehension of what is good is the issue. So he says, unless there is a mistaken apprehension of the good, there can be no sin in the will. All that's a very long, drawn-out way of like we misrecognize the good, and those tend to be sinful things because the good ultimately comes from God. I know that was a mouthful.
Yeah, no. When you were talking about like because we're created in the image and likeness of God, that we have this like built-in desire aimed towards the good. And you and I have talked about this before because I grew up like Reformed Calvinist Protestant, and so when I became Catholic, to try to think of this idea that like that no, you're not totally depraved in the sense that like you are as bad as you
Right.
can be, it was hard for me to grasp. But then like learning more about the Catholic faith and learning more about Catholic theology, I thought, okay, well this like it makes more sense to say that everyone is created in the image and likeness of God, and just because it is true that we are fallen, and because of the fall of Adam and Eve, that there is something broken,
for sure.
but that doesn't mean that like what God created was taken and thrown out here, and now it's something else had replaced it. Like, no, you are still created in the image and likeness of God,
and we're not stuck there.
Yeah, right.
We can learn. So if we are spending a lot of time misunderstanding or misreading what is good, we can figure out, we almost naturally do this just psychologically. The things that we think are good end up having really negative effects in our lives. It's like, well, for example, like the easiest example is with addiction. You fall into an addiction because it helps you in some sort of way at first, and then it becomes a problem. But we can learn by recognizing that as a problem, and then change the direction in which we are staring back to God. So yeah, you have that. I think this is the Catholic perspective here is a more hopeful and more human one, because if I was coming from a Calvinist background, and if I think that I'm totally deprived in some sense, I'm fallen such that I can't even recognize the good, that there's very little hope just on the face of that. Sure, Redeemed Zoomer can come in here and offer a nice little defense of Calvinism. But I think for just any person with layman's ears to hear that, they're going to be like, well, yeah, you're totally depraved, man.
Yeah.
You can't, there's nothing you can do to change this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard. I mean, as somebody who lived through it, and obviously, like you said, I'm sure there's a response to it, and I'm sure there's an answer to it. I never really heard it. I mean, I don't know what
that's because you just automatically assume that you're on the good side usually.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or you have to.
Yeah, because you get to a point where it's like, oh, well, at least, I've repented and believed, and so now I don't have to worry about being totally depraved because, like Luther's analogy, I'm a snow-covered dunghill now, so it doesn't matter that I'm totally depraved because God sees me as righteous. Yeah,
that does blend over into our previous conversations, doesn't it? Like infused versus imputed righteousess.
Yeah, I think that's actually what we talked. Is that what we talked about the last time?
I think we did end up talking about that a little bit.
This is like a part 2 to that.
I guess so. Maybe so.
It fits in perfectly, man. I guess now I'm gonna have to upload that with just a picture of us or something in the audio going through.
Yeah,
make it a little easier for people. But okay, so, and I know through talking to you, you're definitely more of a Thomistic guy. And so there's like a more Thomistic view of evil, or like a way that a Thomistic definition of evil that maybe differs, or
well, I think maybe maybe asking the question of like, what is evil? And we already kind of talked about that a little bit in terms of misrecognizing the good, and then thinking that the good, the smaller g goods, which are actually usually not good, are God. Really, they become our idols.
Yeah.
But there's this other way from St. Augustine, actually, of people ask, what is evil? And he has this formulation of understanding it not as this kind of essence that's kind of floating around out there, but more so it is the lack or the privation of something that is good. Just like I think one of the quickest examples people come to is like if you're talking about temperature, if it's cold, it's kind of like the privation of heat, or something is evil because it is lacking something in itself.
Yeah. I think, and for me, that the more that I heard that, the more like that was very hopeful to hear. In one sense, it's bad to think like, okay, well, you're missing something, or that like there's a lack or something like that, and then you hear that on the surface, and it's like, oh gosh, man, I'm not as good as I thought I was. But then to think, okay, yes, but there is a solution,
right?
And that solution is God. And so then, like I'm thinking of the picture. I can't remember what the picture is called, but like the two hands, where you have the one finger that's pointed out and the other that's like, the story is that God's finger is outstretched as far as it could be, and all you have to do is lift your finger to touch God's.
Yes.
And that's it. And so not to say like God does your part, then you do your part.
Yes. So
you don't
this is where you're going to get the pushback. You're like, oh, well, you're working for your salvation.
Right.
No. I'm allowing God to work in my life.
Yeah.
Like, he reaches out first.
Right.
In that picture, his finger's outstretched.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that brings a lot of hope, because it's like, yes, you are lacking something, you are missing something, but
sure,
there's a solution. And you get to participate in that. Like God extends grace to you, and then you get to rightly respond and have some sort of participation in making up what is lacking,
for sure,
within you.
And we do this each and every day.
Yeah.
Kind of at all moments, but it's not something to be paralyzed by. It's this working out your salvation with fear and trembling. That's what the scriptures tell us. It is this the struggle, struggle and suffering is extremely important. I just gave a talk at our church about this. You were there, on suffering, and out of suffering, good things come. So we grow. The point is that we don't need to get stuck there, and we don't have to get stuck there, and that God actually makes for us the way. And if we listen to Christ himself, he says, not my will but yours, to the Father. So we have to recognize, and it's a practice, we have to recognize the good for what it is, and that's a period, that's discernment. In the things that we do, we discern, is this God's will? Is this right? And then there are a myriad of different ways of going about that. It's not just you have to figure it out on your own. Of course, you're doing that through like prayer, but you have the teachings and the precepts of the church and the body of believers. So, I mean, whenever you start adding in all this other stuff, it doesn't have to feel like a absolute struggle for you. Yeah. So even though I was talking about struggle, it's like wrestling with it, but in living our lives in a way where we can be also helped by each other, so that we can reach what is good. Yeah.
And as you were talking, it made me think of like, I think I mentioned it in the beginning that yes, obviously sin is an offense against God, and that is the ultimate like reason why sin is bad.
Sure.
But I think that also we've alluded to it this whole time that we're talking about missing the mark.
Misrecognizing the good, missing the mark.
Yeah. And so not only, and I think when you were talking about like addiction and things like that, that at first it seems to fill some kind of void.
Yes.
It seems to like, oh, this is the solution to the problem. Like I've had this problem and this is the missing piece. And then you soon find out, sooner than later, actually, things are worse than when I started.
Yep.
And so I think that's the other part of sin that if we keep that in mind, like obviously, I don't know, sometimes I almost feel like to be able to really fully grasp the idea that sin is an offense to God and to understand like how big of a deal that actually is really hard that's like level 1. And that's really hard to reach. But I think even if we can realize, oh, wow, like sin is even damaging to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm made in the image and likeness of God.
Exactly.
And I'm missing that mark, then like the whole reason of why I was created, I'm missing that altogether.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Not only are we offending God, but it's not just on his side of things too that he's being offended. He's mostly offended because it hurts us.
Yeah.
Like he's offended because we are depriving ourselves of the good of him. Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking when you were saying that. Is it does. Sin hurts us. It hurts. It really does. Yeah, only at first does it seem good. And it gets in the way of who we are truly called to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can just that is the first level. If we can just recognize that. If we can recognize that sin is not about not doing these things. I try to explain this to my students whenever I'm doing catechism and such, is that it's not these arbitrary set of rules. It is actually guidelines for what's best for us. And that does take a level of like, I don't know, maybe you have to experience it to some degree. Like you got to put your hand on the eye and get burnt. Some of us go back to that eye over and over and get burnt and burnt and burnt, thinking it's going to be different, which is, insanity.
Yeah, right.
It's like insanity. But once we realize, oh, wait, what God wants me to do is actually what I want. Deep down, it's what I was created for.
Yeah.
Deep down, I have a lack inside of me because I have, people talk about this. I have that God-shaped hole, and only He can fulfill that. And all this other stuff that I'm feeling with it is just garbage. Experientially, it's garbage. Over time, it like becomes pain and trauma. And the thing is that like Christ is still there with His hands outstretched. I mean, it's when we're talking about sin here, what it literally does, we talk about the difference between venial and mortal, and that mortal will sever that relationship because it's you turning your back on God. And how I imagine it breaks His heart each time we do that, because we are spitting in the face of what is good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we truly want God, and that's what satisfies us. What is the famous quote? Our hearts are restless until they rest in Thee, O God.
Yeah.
Then it's gonna be painful, and it's gonna suck until we turn back around, and then we realize that like apprehending and doing the good is what was right for us the whole time.
Yeah. And as we've talked about this before, I have thought, and I don't know, I'm going off script here a little bit.
That's all right.
So I don't, but I like thinking about mortal versus venial sin, because mortal sin, it has to be grave matter. Then you have to have deliberate consent and full knowledge.
Right.
And so the thing that I always kind of have wrestled with since becoming Catholic, and I think a lot of people probably do too, is like, maybe, I guess it probably hones in more on that deliberate consent part, because if you,
well, it's hard to make sense of it. Like, why would anyone do that if they know of the repercussions of it?
yeah, right,
Why would any like sane person do that?
yeah, and so, and you know, in talking earlier through about how sin is, well, I said it myself, that like people don't generally wake up and go, I'm going to commit evil today. Like,
Right,
can't
exactly.
wait to do it.
It's because it's just like it's disguised as something good right then.
Yeah. And so I don't know, maybe as I'm thinking through this in real time. And so maybe I'm like making more of a deal out of it than it should be, but man, I can't even think of the right way to formulate the question. Like, if you are someone who's misguidedly aiming at the good, and so you're falling and you're missing the mark, to what degree are you like deliberately choosing sin? Do you get what I'm saying? Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making much sense or not.
No, I think you are. Like, but I don't know if it circles back around to the question of like, why would you do that? Or which condition of the three is it that's taken?
I think it's the deliberate consent. Like, can you have, are you, like,
Can you choose?
yeah. Like, are you, if you have to have deliberate consent, and if you are thinking, well, no, no.
We're working through it in real time here.
We are. I think it's making sense now, because I was originally thinking, okay, well, if you are aiming at what is perceived the good, then you're not like deliberately choosing sin, but you are deliberately choosing to miss the mark.
Certainly, because we have, in a sense, we start to defend our choices too. Even like we say, you might. It's not that you remain ignorant of it. Like other people, that's what spreading the gospel is about. You know, it's like it's telling us the right way that's actually gonna make you truly happy. But that doesn't mean that people can say, "Oh, okay, there's that over here," and then they just ignore it. And they continue to persist in what they think is good. And at that point, they're not ignorant anymore because they've been called out. They might not have understanding, but they have knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the missing point. I think that's the point that I was getting myself tripped up on maybe a little bit.
And it's hard to have an understanding if you're not wanting to submit yourself to receive that.
Yeah.
God, show me what is right for me.
Yeah.
You know, most everybody knows about Christianity in this country, in the world. Most everybody at least has everybody has a concept of what's good written on our hearts. I mean, that's what Scripture tells us. It's like the law of God is written on our hearts. So, but whether or not we could persist and continue to follow that is entirely up to us.
Yeah.
Because we might see our idols, the things that are like the small goods, or which are really bad usually, as like kind of God itself. And then we end up basically worshiping something other than God.
Yeah.
Sin is kind of like basically worshiping something else besides God.
Yeah. It as you were talking, I just thought, it like is slowly blinding too. Like you can almost,
it's insidious.
Yeah. It almost is like a dimmer switch, because it starts off. I mean, again, nobody like goes, "Hey, this is going to hurt me, so I'm gonna do it." I think very rarely does somebody do that. But it starts off as, "Oh, I think this is a good solution. I'm having this problem, and I think that this is the missing piece." And so it starts off kind of bright, and then it slowly is dimmed down, and then you get to the point where it's so dark, and then you think, "Oh yeah, this is the new normal." And and I think that's how sometimes people can get to a point where they look at sin, or they have their own personal sin, and they say, like you said earlier, what do you mean I'm a sinner? Like, what have I done?
Yeah, that's the furthest position away from God. It's a really because eventually, paradoxically, here, and maybe this is partially why we're talking about this subject is, um, it's not like become obsessed with like thinking about sin all the time, but you'll start to be able to turn that dimmer switch up. Why? Because I want to be closer to God, and if I'm able to see the thing that's blocking me here, like God perform surgery on me because I need this tumor removed.
Yeah.
And you can't see the tumor whenever you got the light turned down low.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is why having the church, because we both grew up Protestant, in sola scriptura, like scripture being the only infallible rule of faith, is a big push within Protestant. I mean, it's one of the 5 solas of the Reformation. And I think that in a way it points to, no, you need like the church to be able to help be that guide. And okay, here is, especially as the ages move, like truth doesn't change, but the way that truth is applied can not change, but need to be expounded on or defined further.
Well, yeah, and there's new issues that happen that might not be spelled out precisely. I mean, you'd have to categorize them and make links to them, but there's new sins that happen all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're old sins. Whenever you really boil it down to what actually is happening, it's probably one of the deadly sins.
Yeah.
But there's new manifestations of it.
Yeah, like AI. When the authors of Scripture were writing Scripture, they were not thinking like, oh, in 2026, there's going to be AI where you can do literally anything you want to with a tiny box in your hand where you touch a screen, and it does whatever you want it to do. But like you said, the core basics of what those apostles were talking about, that was always there.
But it helps to have the church that tells us,
Right. Yeah. And so to help us not miss the mark, even in what do you do with something like AI that has not been around for 2020 something years.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess longer than that, but
Yeah.
the earth is not only 2,000 years old. But yes, like, you need someone to say, okay, this is the mark. And we have the authority to be able to say, this is the mark, to help put up those guardrails and help guide and say, okay, don't go too far this way. Don't go too far that way either.
Yeah.
Stay right in here. This is where you need to be.
So it can be a problem, I think, for people who start staring at the guardrails, and it kind of misses the point. That's where we're getting hung up on things. That's where you're becoming more kind of, what is the word? Not pharisaical. I mean, I guess that could apply, but kind of like rigid, looking at rules for the sake of rules rather than the principles.
Like legalistic.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Yes. Instead, it's like, oh my gosh, I got all this room to play in here and I will be safe.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. Look at it here. Why would you don't even want to go over there because there's a highway. I get splattered on it. I know, because I've been there and got splattered. It's called sin.
Yeah. And then, well, with that analogy, thinking through too that sin, I am always shocked to see how sin changes you and affects you. And you probably see it a lot, like mentally in your work.
Yeah.
But also even physically too.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy to see. I mean, addiction is probably the most obvious.
It comes to mind immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see somebody, and I've seen the pictures before where it has like somebody on heroin or this or alcohol or whatever the case may be, and it's crazy to think that. Yes, sin is an offense to God, and it seems like more of a spiritual thing, but those spiritual realities are not like you have your spiritual and then you have your real physical over here.
So yeah.
There's a big
Descartes for that divide. That's not very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that chasm is not there. I mean, the two are intermingled.
Yep.
So you probably see this a lot.
Well, I mean, it takes whether you're talking about the physical aspect of it, for sure. If someone is under psychological turmoil for extended periods of time, their body just it wears away at it.
Yeah.
Um, and we know this because usually the thing that gets us to the point of saying something, like when we have a mental health issue, is I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
No, I can't do anything anymore. My body is not working the way it's supposed to. And I think it happens with our souls too. There is a whole conversation to be had about the relationship between the spiritual life and the psychological life that I like exploring. But yeah, if we're thinking about sin and the things that we do, that's if we think about it spiritually like this, like reality is really kind of our spiritual relationship with God and each other, and we're corroding in that way. It's very quick that our minds are being affected by that, then our bodies are being affected by that, because sin's exactly that kind of nasty, cancerous kind of thing that does that.
Yeah.
It's part of the equation. Whenever people can, and I'm working with people in the clinic, and they can, they are open to talking about spiritual stuff, I'm overjoyed whenever I can do that, because it's a whole component to part of who we are, and it's neglected, but it's really part of everything. This conversation about aiming for the good, living the good life, it's been around. The question's been around for ages, but its effects spill into all the different domains of our life.
Yeah. I don't. It can. Yeah. I think that realizing more and more how the physical and the spiritual are totally intermingled in the aspect of sin, that's more of like a negative light on things, because you see how bad it can be. But I think the other, like the flip side of that, is to realize that, okay, well, if sin can affect me really bad spiritually, mentally, physically, then the opposite of that, like the good, can even
for sure
do the same thing.
I was thinking the same thing when we were talking about the church just a second ago. I was thinking, but God also gives us the sacraments that can heal us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we don't just have guidance, we also have like an easy access, free to us, just about at any time. There's some sacrament is available to you that is right there as medicine.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it only makes sense. Like the sacrament of confession or reconciliation, like only makes sense to me, because it's like, okay, well, yes, sin is real, sin is spiritual, but it also has these physical, like it can affect you physically. And so if the cancer can affect you physically, then it only makes sense that you have a physical solution to the problem.
Oh, right. Yes.
You get what, you see what I'm
I
saying?
get what you're saying. Well, we have an incarnational theology.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it really starts with Christ, and Christ enters into the world in this kind of, he manifests himself physically, for us here. And then you start seeing everything, like you start seeing the sacraments in scripture everywhere. Whenever he uses spit from his mouth to heal the blind person with mud, water, the typology of that, and we experience it in baptism. It's like God is awesome because he takes real physical things, which to most of us, I mean, to all of us really, that's what stands out as immediate reality to us. He takes that and he uses it in order to heal us in these, I guess, hard to see kind of ways.
Yeah. It points to like when, like the whole plan of redemption is not just like a spiritual, like we're not souls trapped in bodies,
Yes,
and then
right.
one day we'll be released, and then we'll truly be our full selves,
Right, yeah,
when we
yeah.
get out of these shells.
No, we get glorified bodies in the end.
Yeah, right. Like, no, and we see it in the resurrection
Mhm.
of Jesus himself, and then we also see it in the assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
That, like, because I think sometimes there can be an argument made of like, oh well, Jesus is God, so of course he bodily resurrects from the body. But then when you look at Mary, it's like Mary's not a god. She's not a goddess.
Mhm.
She is a human being.
Right.
And unless God had, by a singular grace, kept her from sin,
Mhm.
like she would have been in the same boat as everybody
Yeah.
else.
Right.
But because God, I think it speaks to the power of what God's grace can do, and
For
what
sure.
like His plan is.
Exactly.
Like
That's what I was gonna get to.
yeah, like that's what He wants for each of us. Like what happened to Mary is not like, oh, look at the Catholics are just showing how good Mary is.
Right. No, it's a promise for us,
Yeah,
that we too, uh, not that whenever we die we'll have the same exact experience, but at the resurrection of the general resurrection, that
Yeah.
we will have that as well.
Yeah, because we can see, okay, well, Jesus himself resurrected from the dead, and then he
Mhm.
ascended into heaven.
Mhm.
But not only did he give us that, he also gave Mary as like, so it's almost like he pulled the rug out from underneath the cop out of, well, Jesus is God, so of course
Right.
he
Yeah.
can resurrect
Mhm.
bodily. It's like, well, yeah, but I also brought my mother with me too, so
Right. And you can come as well.
yeah, like you're in the same boat as her. She's a human being. There's no like goddess. She's not a goddess or anything like that. It's completely the grace of God that did it.
I think this is really good stuff because we talk about Jesus and we say that he is the redeemer.
Hmm.
It's not like this world is then blotted out and then something purely. He comes to take things that are broken and to redeem them, to fix them. So we don't just lose our bodies, for example. We don't just there is not this bifurcation between the world and our bodies and all this kind of stuff, and then the spiritual good and all this. And we kind of, I hope we're not going in circles here, but uh, he comes to redeem the whole of it, the
Hmm.
all of it. Which, so that if that's, and that's a great thing, because that means that in our life as we live it each day, God wants to be present in all domains of your existence. Um, and I think, if we abide in that, then he brings about because he loves us. And what is love but actualizing the good of someone else?
Hmm.
But we have to like be receptors of of that love.
Yeah, that's
And it
one.
changes our lives.
Yeah, I mean it. I think especially when you look at the sacraments, because I feel like the first half of the conversation it was like very negative, like sin is bad. But I think that it's good to also highlight the flip side of that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That like, yeah, it is really bad, and it really does do serious damage.
Hmm.
And mainly it is an offense to God. But if you can't quite grasp it, if you can't quite understand that, like if you know it but you don't really understand it, then at least you could know and understand that like it damages you as well.
Hmm.
And so then I think on the flip side of that, when we look at the sacraments that the
Hmm.
church gives, like, okay, if you can't understand the full gravity of the goodness of the sacraments and what
Hmm.
they're doing, you could at least know and understand the flip side of sin of the sacraments is, well, no, this is doing good for my soul. Like this is here to say, it literally is here to save me.
Yeah.
They bestow grace upon us,
Hmm.
and that grace is what is going to save us. I mean, if anybody's going to be saved, it will be by God's grace,
Hmm.
and we have a way to. God gave us a way to receive that grace from Him.
Yeah. Whenever I converted, the priest that I was speaking with, he defined grace as like God's loving power working through us, and that seems so right. And it reminds me of all the things that we talk about with Jesus as the water, that just keeps giving, doesn't run dry.
Mm.
It's like, and yeah, we might be thirsting to death here sometimes, but like there's always the fountain to go to that keeps restoring us.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like you said earlier too, especially like if you're in a state of mortal sin,
Mhm.
if you can find a priest anyway, even in like a grocery store, uh, I don't, I think most priests would probably be happy to do confession.
Yeah.
You may get a hold of a priest who's like not too great. It's like, nah, I'm too busy. I can't do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I have never, I mean, there's been times where uh, I felt bad for asking
Hmm.
because I was like, oh man, this is,
I
you know,
have too. Yeah.
it's Father so and so's rest day, and he just wanted to say hi at this event that we're having at the church, and here I am asking if on his rest day if he
Yeah.
can
They're
do.
usually excited to do so.
Yeah, and I have not once been met with anything except for yeah, absolutely, come on, let's go.
Right.
And yeah, and that I don't know.
Not that we can't seek forgiveness, directly from God for those who are listening that might weigh in with that. But there's a special channel of grace in anyone who has experienced the sacrament of reconciliation, where my goodness, it's like jumping into a river that just cleanses you. The sin gets washed away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, and then I guess maybe the last thing I wanted to talk about was,
Mhm.
and I think all of this points to it, is heaven and hell, because growing up Southern Baptist and then more Reformed Protestant, I always believed in predestination and maybe which Catholics believe in
Yeah.
predestination,
Mhm.
but like maybe to a fault. Like God made you like, and He made you just
Double
to send you.
predestination.
Right, He
Right.
predestined you to hell,
Yeah. Yeah.
and He predestined you to heaven. And then becoming Catholic, I remember the first time I heard somebody say, and I don't remember who it was. Man, for some reason I want to say it was Father Mike Schmitz in either the Bible or Catechism of the Year.
Yeah.
And he said something to the effect of like, God is going to give you what you want in eternity.
That's right.
And I remember hearing that for the first time, and I thought, no, that's not how it works. But then I thought through it more, and it's like, well, based on, especially like we've been talking about this whole time, based off of the right understanding of what sin is,
Mhm.
and then what the right understanding of like living a virtuous life as God calls us to is,
Mhm.
then no, like God is really going to give you what you desire.
Yeah. Uh, if we are satisfied with if we're satisfied like with the cheeseburger from McDonald's, that it temporarily fills this lack inside of us. And I literally don't mean the cheeseburger from McDonald's, by the way. Though that probably is sinful.
It's got to be at least gluttony, right?
Yeah, right.
Something like that.
Right. But if we become so attached, attached to the things that we think are good, that are just, and they're not God, then God's going to be like, look, if you don't want me, you don't, then you can die with what you have, what you want. He'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
It leads to, Bishop Barron's, which he was really pulling from Balthazar and some other people, about this kind of hopeful universalism. But and then C.S. Lewis's idea about the doors of hell being locked on the inside.
Mm.
It's like God is so loving that he of course he didn't create us as these beings of you're programmed to do this and therefore you have to go to this direction or the other direction. So with our free choice of cooperating with his grace and his love and wanting that, falling in love with him, I mean, heaven is the natural result of what follows from that.
Mhm.
Is that if I am pursuing God because it's what's good for me, it's what honestly, it's what feels right, it's what fulfills me, then my eyes are stuck on him, and in the moment of death, he defeated death. It then I'm with him. There's nothing separating me from him. And then also thank God for purgatory as well.
Yeah.
That also leaves hope for us too, because I think one can hear maybe all of what I just said, and they think to themselves like, oh, that means that I have to be perfect. And I mean, Christ does say like, be perfect, as the Father is.
Yeah.
And that's, you don't get any more of a expectation out of us than that.
Yeah.
But he still is the one who's reaching to us, and if we are living our lives for him, if we have I keep having like Protestant little phrases pop into my head. If you accept Jesus into your heart, right, each day and every day, right, then he's not going to bar us from being with him. And if we're not perfect, like, he even makes room for that too, so that we can become acceptable, so that we can become in the same space as him, because our ultimate goal is like to have perfect communion with God. And I don't think people like realize just what that actually means.
Yeah.
It means that, I mean, you're not wearing your theosis shirt today.
I was earlier.
Yeah, right. But it's like we are called to have perfect communion with God. It is what he wants to give us. It's an ultimate beautiful gift. It's even crazy to imagine that I can share in all of the great things about God. I don't become one with his essence. I don't become God, but I become united to him. And so I think people should think about that. And then it kind of makes sense of purgatory, and it makes sense of what heaven is like.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were talking about free will, the thing that I think through often is like, well, what happens when that initial grace is given to us through baptism is like that your will that is, because scripture tells us like you're dead in your trespasses and sins, right? And so you are in bondage to sin,
right?
And so then what grace does is it takes your will and frees it.
It does.
And so now you have the ability to choose. So it's not like we believe in what would that be Pelagianism and semi-Pelagianism?
That you can do it yourself?
Yeah, like you can kind of get yourself started.
No, yeah, not at all.
Because you can't.
No.
But once God extends grace to you, now your will has been, there's a little crack, in the dark wall of light, and you can look at the light and go, oh, and maybe there's something there. And then you can kind of like we said, like, instead of missing the mark all the time because that is your default, now you can say, oh wait, there's another option. And that light, it's bright and it's kind of painful, but like there's something to that. Maybe I should walk towards that.
Right. And this is why infant baptism is a great thing.
That's right.
We're knocking out all the things today. But I think about it that way. I think about, like, why would I not want to bestow all the graces possible, not only on myself, but on the people that I care about? Because they're going to have an easier time, seeing the light whenever they had this grace that was bestowed upon them out of I guess in part, like, I very little bit, I guess, helped them with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I think because from my background, my time as a Protestant, free will was like a dirty word. You didn't ever say free will. But the more that I think about it, and as I've thought about it over the years, I thought it almost seems like the Catholic view of salvation is really truly like not unbelievable, but really like incredible to think that no, you really truly were dead in your trespasses and
Yes.
sins, and then you really truly were raised with Christ. And so now God gives you, by His grace, the ability to choose the good. Not just
That's
like
right.
not just like God sees you as good now, but no, like you can you have the ability to choose this.
And in that moment, you are good.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, and you are until you sin, and then you can get right back on track.
Yeah, right. The deacon at our church that's baptized two of our kids. Every time he does it, he says, "This little baby right here is the holiest person in this room."
That's right.
Now.
Yeah.
And I love it so much, and because it's true.
It is.
Every stain of original sin has been completely wiped away in the sacrament of baptism. And then if you continue aiming towards the good and using that grace that God gave you to continue to pursue Him, then at the end of your life, even if you're not completely perfect at that very moment, but if you've lived a life of repentance and belief and continue to pursue Christ and pursue God, you will attain heaven. That
you will get what you wanted.
Yeah, you will get what you want, and it's the same for the opposite way as well.
Is. Yep. God will not force His love upon us.
Yeah, the analogy I always think of is like a marriage, because I'm married. You're married as well, and so it makes sense that, like, if I were to put my wife and like chain her up or put her in a what are the suits called? A straight jacket, and like sit her on the couch and say, "You're gonna love me whether you like it or not." You know, like that's not love.
No.
There has to be the possibility for hurt and harm, and like there's always I can't force her to love me. And so there's always the possibility that, now obviously I don't think this is going to happen. There's no trouble in paradise, but but like she could say, I'm out. This is over with. This is done. And because that possibility is there, means that she has the opportunity to love me. Or I could do the same thing. I could one day say, "Hey, look, this has been great for the last 10 years, but I'm done with this now."
And if you take that analogy right there and map it onto our relationship with God, the same heartache that she would feel is the heartache that God feels.
Yeah, and probably even more so.
Infinitely more.
Because He perfectly loves us.
Yes.
And to think about the heartbreak of that we feel when we're hurt by like a spouse or a close friend or somebody that you truly love, and how much that can really, really hurt. And then to think, oh, okay, well, when I sin, even like small sin, like venial sin obviously doesn't break that relationship, but it still does damage.
Yeah, sure. You're like turning ever so slightly away.
Right. And even doing that, I mean, if me saying an unkind word to my wife or something, or speaking unkindly to her, makes her upset, but not enough to say like this relationship is over, and that still hurts her, then how much more does it hurt God when we even commit even the venial sins? You had said it before, something about well, I guess maybe it's not quite directly related, but somewhat related, about like understanding if we knew what the Eucharist was.
Oh, yes.
How you said it. What did you say exactly?
Well, I was talking, about the Eucharist, and some of this is influenced by, I think I've name dropped Bishop Barron 3 times. He was very important in my conversion. But just the fact, I was talking in front of the church, and to the right of me was the tabernacle, and I was saying, like, sometimes in adoration, as I'm sitting before the Lord, I'm thinking, that's the very same God who appeared in the burning bush. Like, if we truly understood what that meant and what we're in the presence of, like, we should be on our knees, and this drove me actually crazy to a certain point where if I saw like a kid walk by and they didn't genuflect, I'd be like, "What are you doing?" But I've eased up a little bit whenever it comes to that. But yes, yeah, if we only knew, right?
Yeah,
God's love for us.
yeah, and I think the same. Like if we truly understood that what sin does to God, that man, I think that would help us not sin nearly as much.
I think if we saw, like in those pictures that you were talking about, before meth and after meth, and we saw like our spirit,
Yeah,
man, that would have some kind of effect. Like if I saw what something actually does to me, because it's so easy to start justifying everything, and it's not a big deal, and But then if I was able to like look at my soul after sinning, and the more in tune that we become with this, like the quicker the consequences of like, that feels terrible. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Gotta go to confession right now because I don't like how this feels.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? maybe. Oh, if we had that image, I think we would probably change our ways a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And if we are doing like an examination of conscience, like we should every night, then we would see its effects, and it becomes more clear to us, I think, as we move on in our journey, as Christians.
Yeah. There's an analogy I've heard that like if you're in a dark room and then a light shines through a window, you see all the little, like, the little
particles.
Yeah, the little particles. And the brighter that light is and the more like pointed it is,
Yes.
the better you can see those particles.
Right.
And the more it reveals.
Yes.
And so I think, like you're saying, the more we do the things we're supposed to, like examination of conscience, prayer, frequenting the sacraments, living as Christ calls us to live. Like, are we caring for our neighbor, for the widow, for the poor, for the sick, all of these people, or even our neighbor, your kids,
just
right?
Start with your kids.
Yeah, your kids and your wife, or,
right?
Like if you're living with roommates, like what are you doing to help?
Yeah,
how are you caring for your?
We
roommates?
Would see all these little things floating around there, but it wouldn't be a bad thing because we would want to like fix that.
Yeah,
we would want to make it clear. The light becomes like a solid ray,
Yeah.
Sorry if I cut you. I didn't know if you were going to go that direction or not, but that's what I feel like.
No, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah,
because I think that's an important point. The more you see those things, it's not bad. It's like, oh, I'm glad I saw that because now I can get rid of that.
Because most people would say, oh, you're going to be feeling guilty and shameful and all that, and it's just not the case. Like, Teresa Lisieux was not sitting there, and she'll write about like, or a better example, I like when priests tell me about like nuns that come to confess to them, and they'd have the slightest little bitty things that they're having to confess. It can be an agonizing process, like getting there, but as you're progressing in your Christian life, it gets. Does it get easier? I think if we stay in like God's path for us, it does in a sense get easier to spot the things, and then to have a desire to not fall into despair or guilt about them. Rather, we have this feeling of, I need to clean that out of the way so that I can live. I want to breathe better.
Yeah. That's good. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I hope this is helpful because I think it's good to point out that sin is bad, but sin is probably worse than you think it is.
Yes, and it helps, I think, to recognize, like, it makes the good even better when we recognize that actually that is what we want.
Yeah.
That is the satisfying thing that our hearts can rest in.
Yeah. I very vividly remember as a kid being like wildly anxious about heaven because I would be scared of, God, man, this priest said that heaven is just like a church service for eternity and it never ends.
Yeah.
And the more that the more that I've learned and the more I understand and the more I've grown, it's like, actually, it's everything that I'm seeking. And I've seen it even in like like, oh, these things that I'm seeking that are sinful, that desire that's deeply rooted that I'm trying to fill with this thing that doesn't quite hit it. Like the fulfillment of that desire is heaven, and it's infinitely greater
Way better
than whatever this sinful thing is that I'm trying to fill it with. So it gives me so much hope. Now I feel like I'm at a point where I think, actually, like an eternity of complete fulfillment is, can I get there now? Like I understand Paul a little bit better.
I understand Paul for sure, for sure.
Like, can we hurry this up? And
I feel like that sometimes too. My little child said the same thing too. He's like, well, Jesus is in heaven. I want to be with Jesus. Can I just die right now? And I'm like, no. Okay. Like we have purpose here, that life is good. And yeah, but but part of me is like, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, right. That's right. But all right. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was good. I really do hope this is helpful. I like learning this kind of stuff has been really helpful for me. So whoever you are watching this, I really do hope it's been helpful for you too.